in systems, right? So this is one. So if you practicing your major scale, right, you just can come down. You can go up or come down. So if I want to ascend, I want to come down D flat major, right? Now I'm not going to go through all these with you. I want you to just grab the concept, okay? All right. So like one lick that everybody knows, right? But they might not know how to use them, because you have to. It takes time to really have to understand everything, and so that you're going to get your own voice. So like even cliches and licks and lines, you practice them in systems, man. And then you want to make everything your own, okay? Because this music is a cross-country journey, right? So, like I said, one of the systems is chromatic. So, like you could take anything, a triad, right? Right? You could take your triads, practice them like that so you get familiar with that type of movement. So you start practicing in this chromatic system. Now, like I said, you do your arpeggios. Now we go through all these exercises, but just to get the concept, right? So we're gonna go over these, right? So this is just the chromatic. Now when we talk about your major scales, right? There's only two modes. You got your major and your minor modes, right? But they're really just one. It's just what point of view are you looking at them from, right? There's only 12, right? So any of these things, you want to take them through these systems, either whole tone, and we talked about the trinity of diminish, all right? So now let's just dig a little deeper into these two modes and how to look at them in different ways, right? And just simplifying these. So all of your 24, if you talk Adam, you say, okay, when they teach you say, oh, you got to learn your majors and your minors. They're the same, really. It's just where you're going to start and how you're going to look at them, because music is all movement, and you're only one musician, right? We're only one, so we have to get them all under our fingers, right? So they all originated from the chromatic, but they're like communities, right? So actually, you say the modal harmony is older. All of these definitions that we put on music, the innovations come first, especially when we talk about innovating today. It's gonna just happen, and that's why we teach a lot of the history and all of this, because you want to be able to create, okay? So let's look at these 12, right? All right, now this. We talk about this one. I showed you this major scale. Now don't forget that one. We're gonna come back to that one, but I want you to think of your majors as this bad boy, right? Now you have to practice that if you're a piano player. Now you're gonna practice that one chromatically, right? You practice that chromatically in your chromatic system, right? Either go ascending or descending. Okay? Either ascending or descending. Alright? So you get familiar with these and playing them from that. And then you should build all your intervals, right? From those. Okay? So that's our what we call our major sharp 11 formula. So when you see a major chord, I'm not gonna tell you what to think, but this is more the modern sound, right? You hear that sound all the time. So you can play that, if you play that chord, you can arpeggiate it, right? So that's another way of playing the system. Now we're just gonna deal with chromatic. You can go move things, whole tones, like I said, and then we'll get to the trinity of diminished movement of trinity. But just make sure you learn them all, right? Okay? And that scale can go with these, right? Now, there's not going to be any wrong notes when you really play it, all right? Now, we're going to use another formula to build this relationship, and this is for our minors, all right? And so we're going to build our minors using the Dorian, all right? We're using our Dorian, okay? And then we're going to put them together, all right? I'll show you. So, now, we say D minor. We can say D minor, right? Now, we're going to use a whole. It's a whole step, half step, whole step, half step, and then a whole step, right? So you got your 7-note minor, but this will show you, if you just look at that, I don't know if you can zoom in, but you can see that this same C major is the same as A minor Dorian, it's the same as F major Lydian, and the same as your D minor. So that's why we build it from this D minor, right? We're gonna build it, right? So we build our systems from here, all right? Now, this D minor Dorian is the same as your F major Lydian, right? So if you use this graph, you'll know that they're all the same. It's just where's your point of view from. So how can you use it? You can use it moving it around the cycle, okay? So if you see it's going up a fourth, and we move things like, say, I'm gonna give you an exercise, and we do this, like you see, you go up a fourth, down a fifth. Now, if you notice, that's the same. That's gonna be the same as your chromatic movement. Don't worry about trying to understand it. Just know, okay, it is. It's gonna work out. They can substitute for each other when you move it, right? But just if you want to get familiar with these, right, you could just take one. And you move them. You can either move them up, you move them around, right? So you can improvise on one. All right, and you can go up a fourth, down a fifth. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going C major, and then I'm going up to the fourth, and then I'm going to go down a fifth, right? And every time I'm going to move through that line. Now it's going to be the same. It's really going to be the same if I look at it from a different point of view. So if you do this enough, you're going to get familiar and work your lines out. You're going to work how to moving around, right? Okay? So that's just one system, how to look at it. Now, if you take it from a minor, right, you can take your chords and you want to move them up a fourth, down a fifth too, right? So anything you know, you want anything you already know, move it. Like I said, you're going to move it chromatic system, whole tone system, trinity of diminishing, up a fourth, down a fifth, right? So you know. You know, and then you'll be able to move, and you'll know that some of these, you know, it's just gonna, you know, these ideas are gonna just start flowing out.